Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Paul. This is FitSpaz Recovery, and I'm here to try and do another episode. I say try because I never know exactly how it's going to turn out or if it's going to be interesting. I've had some things on my mind, and I thought they'd make a good show. It's a very freezing day here in Colorado, and I did a great workout this morning. I busted my butt on something called Body Beast Build Back and Buys. And I condensed two workouts together. Instead of separating out arms, back, and chest this week, I decided to go ahead and do two workouts together: build chest and tries, and build back and buys. That way, it frees up my day tomorrow. Instead of having to do an arm workout, separating those three muscle groups out, I can go ahead and do some cardio and maybe some abs too. But after doing my extremely hard workout today, yes, I'm gonna relate this to substance abuse, okay? You have control over your fitness. And even there are a lot of days where I'm like, oh gee whiz, now I'm gonna start my workout. And by golly, once I start, it's like, unless something horrible happens, I'm finishing it out. I've never started and stopped. So it really boils down to that moment of hitting play. And I tell you what, the harder the objective is with the workout, the happier I am when I finish, the more accomplished I feel when I do it. And I think that this feeling of accomplishment is essential in your recovery. If you feel like you don't have control of things, you do have control of fitness. I don't want to hear your excuses. If you give me excuses, I'm gonna do you a favor as a human being, and I'm gonna call you out on your nonsense. People don't like it. Starting out, we don't like it, but finishing something hard is such a great feeling, okay? Even if you're getting high all the time, I'm not suggesting you go on forever like that. I'm just saying that we still got to push the spirit to accomplish. And when I get a 50-minute workout done, and when I improve and I lift and I increase all my weights and resistance, I feel awesome about it. I'm not even kidding you. After I finished that today, which was plenty of exercise for a given day in my opinion. You don't have to lift the entire world and do 2 or 3 hours of exercise in a day. You want to go to where you're comfortable. You want to go to where you're not overtraining and stuff. And so after I did that today, I had to go out and shovel some sidewalks, and boy, what a pain in the butt that was. I didn't even do my whole driveway because it was like, it's so gosh darn heavy. And so I probably spent 25 minutes out there shoveling just the pathways and the sidewalk. Thank goodness a neighbor shoveled, it looks like a neighbor went up and down the whole block with their snowblower on the sidewalk. How cool when people do that. That is so neighborly and awesome. Thank you, dude. What I was just thinking about today was a friend of mine was mentioning how his spouse is having a hard time sleeping, and this has nothing to do with drug abuse per se, although in a way it does. People who indulge may not have a normal sleeping pattern. You know what I mean? I experienced a lot of insomnia myself. His spouse was saying how she's having some insomnia and she can't sleep. And I don't know if she does any exercise or cardio, but I recommend highly. If you're having a hard time sleeping, one word: exercise, okay? If you get in half an hour to an hour of daily rigorous exercise, that is one thing that may very well help you, okay? And you feel so much better when you get enough sleep. I know how I could be so bogged down when I don't have enough sleep. That is like the first order in everything for me to be emotionally on a level playing field with myself. Years ago, I had to take this prescribed medication from the I didn't have to. I shouldn't use that word. I decided to trust this doctor with a problem I was having, and he gave me a very intense anti-inflammatory, and it was called naproxen. And I don't care if the CEO wants to sue me. I'm gonna say that stuff, it may have a positive effect in certain ways, but it is dangerous garbage, okay? And when I was taking this a very powerful medication. I was working out at the time, and I developed unbelievably bad back spasms. Okay, so, and I was asking the doctor, hey, like, if I combine this medication with my workout regimen, is this gonna be bad for me? Oh no, you should be fine. But my personal opinion, even though it's anecdotal, even though it's not scientific, I believe this is common sense, me telling you the truth because of the way I pay attention to my body. I think that that medication gave me horrible back spasms. So I would sleep about 2 or 3 hours at night before I wake up with like what feels like 2 daggers stabbing up into my lats in my back right here. And it takes like 1 or 2 hours for that to settle down. I remember I would take an Advil to help me with it, and it would settle it down after a short period. And I don't think the Advil was good, you know, in the long run, but in the short run. And so my point is, for a long period, that caused me to not be able to sleep well at all. It was horrible. I felt like so miserable because emotionally I didn't have the sleep I needed, but also thinking you're gonna maybe be living with something like that for the rest of your life. I was like frightened. I was like, what are we gonna do here? And so leading me to my next point. Sometimes you think it's hopeless and futile, however you pronounce that. I'm not a total expert, but I know something. You think that you're having a health issue and it's never going to go away, but what I want to say is never underestimate the power of the body to heal itself in certain situations, okay? What seemed hopeless at the time, which was causing me to lose sleep, and not only just lose sleep and be up, but like be in a tremendous amount of pain, it was hard to imagine at that time that I could possibly get back to a normal place of health where I don't have those spasms in the night anymore, and I'm also able to work out again. I had to stop working out because I knew that the workouts I was doing, especially hitting those muscle areas, it was not conducive to my getting better. And so I quit. I healed. I used food as medicine, and I eventually got to a normal place where I could sleep again to some extent. I was still stressed out, and I was still experiencing insomnia for a long while because I think of depression and because of excessive smoking. Now, I know a lot of people in my life, they've been like, yeah, I think it helps me sleep. When I smoke pot, it helps me sleep. I'm like, really? It really does? How would you know? Because you haven't had normal sleep in years and years and years because you've indulged in this thing year after year. And so just try and imagine what I'm saying is true. If you're having a hard time sleeping, it may take a lot of personal due diligence to get back to where you can sleep like a normal human being. I mean, like, it was so bad for me. So you might have to give up drugs, you might have to change your diet, and you might have to wait, okay? I never thought I'd be able to get back to working out normally again. And so here I have been doing these intense workouts for a good amount of time now. A couple of years I've been very involved in fitness again, and especially the last year with Beachbody, I've been hitting it hard, and I have not had a recurrence of those back spasms. But going back to my early point, if you have trouble sleeping, I'm telling you, sleeping is essential to have a good mood, to feel good. If you have decided to give up drugs and you want to get over that boring, depressing period before your mind finally settles and you feel good, sleep. So you have to do everything geared toward getting that. That's one of the essential pillars, in my opinion. Getting the right amount of sleep is essential. And I've known people who've had cancer, and I've also heard those same people say, sleep is a waste of time, and they stay up all night long, and they just resist going to sleep. And I'm like, mistake, dude. That's like the trigger for all kinds of bad health problems. I think you have higher blood pressure. You have more of a likelihood to have a heart attack if you don't get enough sleep. So Dr. Paul recommends half an hour of intense cardio every day and some weightlifting. Do it! If you're having trouble, and like, not just one day, Get in the pattern and the routine of this, because your body, you just sleep it. I've experienced this for myself. I'm not saying it's a scientific thing necessarily. I think common sense would have me believe, yes, that is what my hypothesis would be if I did an actual scientific experiment and I pull out the old empirical notebook and do some tests with people and ask questions. How did you sleep tonight? Did you do exercise? Did you not do exercise? This group, control A, control B, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm rambling and being stupid. All I'm saying is that if you want to sleep better, by golly gosh, get some exercise. And sleep is essential to your recovery too, okay? Sleep off those bad feelings of withdrawal from quitting, all right? Sleep it off, people. So I'm about 11 minutes in. I'm going to get back into the good book today, okay? And in case you're wondering what this book is I'm reading from, it's called Life with Hope. Marijuana Anonymous. Yeah, I know that so many pot smokers, I get it. I get your reaction. You're going to cringe when people say marijuana's addictive. And when you hear Marijuana Anonymous, you're like, it's not that bad. And maybe it's not. In contrast to other drugs in certain ways, I think it's probably not. But that doesn't mean, like for a guy like me and a lot of others I've met, that it doesn't cause turmoil emotionally, personally, spiritually, professionally, all kinds of reasons people may have a hard time with it. And listen, I'm not really judging pot smokers. It's I believe, like, I'm a staunch libertarian. I believe in your right to make your personal choices, and the government shouldn't be up in your business. My attitude is really about addiction, and it's also about whether it's having harm in your life. And I've gone through all the things in another show, which I'll probably go through again, like all the signs of whether marijuana is a problem in your life. And if you, like, consider quitting if you answer yes to all those questions. It's in a past show, but I will come back to that. You'd think I'd just start reading them now, but I have to, I want to get to this third step, because I've just been going through one step at a time. And, this is therapeutic for me, too, because I haven't really worked the steps with a sponsor. And I think there are a million ways to slice a pie, okay? And so the steps may not be the way that you can get clean. You have to find your own way, but there may be something you can take from the steps that'll allow you to be successful at sobering up and getting clean, okay? So I'm going to start this next pretty little piano song. Love that. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood God. So I was talking about the higher power a lot in step 2. And I want to emphasize that people get freaked out when they hear God, especially if you have a tendency not to believe. And if you want to hear my belief on God having to do with not underestimating infinity, watch the episode just previous this one. And so the way I'm going to treat this and the way I interpret this for myself is it doesn't have to be God per se. It just has to be that thing that you're so passionate about that it serves as a basis for you to be empowered to quit, okay? So that's quite different, in my opinion, from believing in God, but I have no problem surrendering to the idea of God, okay? Because of my philosophical belief of infinity, and that I'm just a limited person with a limited ability to understand everything. I'm a philosopher too. Yeah. Let's read about this a little bit, and I'll riff on it like I riff on stuff, you know what I mean? Step 3 called us into action, for it was only by action that self-will could be removed. Our inability to surrender had always blocked the effective entry of a higher power into our lives. Willingness was the lever with which we moved this obstruction. When we took this step, we were practicing the principle of faith. It's just having faith. So going back to God, it's having faith in something that empowers you. I heard once a guy, his higher power was playing the guitar. It's having enough of a passion for something that you can pour your heart into it, and that passion empowers you to give up what's negative in your life. In this case, we're talking about substance abuse. Whatever the substance is, okay? I know I have a tendency to focus on marijuana on this because my history and my drug of choice is with marijuana, and to some extent, periods of my life where I was drinking heavily, but drinking also contributing to my always wanting to smoke. When I get that little buzz, I'm like, oh yeah, give me more, man. I want more of this stuff. And whatever else you put in front of me, almost, when I'm drinking, I feel motivated to I feel motivated to do it. Give it to me, I'm drunk. Step 3 asked us to make a decision based upon our acceptance of our addiction and powerlessness that we had identified in steps 1 and 2. Before we alternated between being controlling or controlled. Before we alternated between being controlling or controlled. I agree. We are, yes, never mind. We either drove other people away with our self-centeredness, demanding that others react to our plans and schemes as we would have them react, or we resigned from the world by refusing to make decisions for ourselves. In either extreme, it was selfishness that ran our lives. I said this in the last recording, that getting high on drugs and drinking, it obfuscates the healthy ego, okay? You just become this smattering of selfishness instead of a calm, centered person with clear focus and clear purpose on what's right. Like, no, I'm not. I'm drunk. It's not causing a problem. My getting high is not causing a problem. Denial, denial, denial. I think, there might be certain experiences people have on drugs where it can open up their mind and their perception to things. I will grant that. However, when you do it all the time, you lose that part of you that's well-centered personally, spiritually, and so forth. And so it's just important to clean up. What can I say? Like, I've seen so many people, they're like, I did acid so many times, and they just seemed like whack. They did not seem personally, emotionally, spiritually centered. Our intoxicated way of life had made things worse. We did whatever we could to make other people, places, and things be what we wanted. Yeah, it sounds familiar to me. This proved to be impossible. We would be hurt and blame others for our problems. So we tried even harder to control and consequently suffered even more. We were actually quite uncaring, although we usually did not consider ourselves to be so. Why not decide to put our lives in the care of God? Or in this case, like I say, whatever it is that you're passionate about and it empowers you to want to quit. It might be being a parent. That just came to me right now. Like, you just love your child so much that you don't want them to see drunken dad or stoner dad, and you don't want to model that behavior, and you honestly have a grounded concept about how I don't want my daughter to grow up to be a drug user. I'm also powerless over that. There's going to be a period in her life where I'm just keeping my fingers crossed when she's a teenager because of undoubtedly some of the friends who are going to be a certain kind of influence. So I really want to model the right behavior so I can look back and go, hey, look, I sobered up. I got responsible as a parent. I cannot be blamed for this. Why not decide to put our lives in the care of God as we understood God? So, as we understood God, that empowering thing that allows you, that enables you to quit, okay? Don't even have to call it God. Don't even have to feel uncomfortable about this step. As long as you identify some thing or some things that give you that personal strength to give up the drugs, right? Our way had certainly not worked for us. The program of recovery works for both people who do not believe in God and for people who do. It does not work for people who think they are God. Yeah, so it's like selfishness. Get over yourself. Spiritual awakening is not possible for those who remain dishonest, closed-minded, and unwilling. Intolerance, belligerence, and denial keep us from open-minded investigation. For addicts, the consequences of these attitudes are dangerous. As a stoner who used to do a program called Marijuana Radio, I had differing opinions from people. I was like, not in favor of the way legalization came about. And I was, in fact, in favor of more latitude and personal liberty. That's always the way I've been. And people were mad at me because I was angry at the the narrow concept of legalization. And even though it's amazing to be able to hold it in your hands and buy it from a place now, I realize how big of a change that is. I still think it's way overbearing. The black market is still the black market. Why am I getting political right now? Because I'm saying that because of that belief I had, I was attacked by many people, and really it's not like they were like open-minded and accepting because they smoked marijuana, and so therefore that's okay if you have a differing view. And I always said about it that if you are somebody who wants to be accepted for your lifestyle, whether you're gay or a pot smoker, then you need to be accepting of others also. You also need to be accepting of a different way of living. And so it's hypocritical when you're a pot smoker attacking another pot smoker for having a different ideal. My ideal is always more liberty, more freedom, more personal choice, and having that choice and people being able to build a business around it. But also liberty being you have that choice, the government's out of your business, out of being up in your nose and your face, and you are free of it because you don't do it. And that's a whole catharsis in life. You have to get through so much in life to realize that, hey, this may not be for you. And I mean, I went 19 years of prolonging my adolescence, okay? There's this thing I heard when I was much younger that it was a propaganda statement, and I don't believe it entirely. They're like, if you smoke marijuana, you just stop your learning right there. And I know from experience that's nonsense. As a person, how I've grown, even being high, I've learned how to write, how to play guitar. I've obtained all kinds of skills with web developing. So I have learned, okay? But the part of the individual that drug using does stunt the growth of is emotionally, spiritually. You don't know what you're missing out on. And you can scream on the table and you can bang. You can disagree, and the more you do that, the more you're proving my point, because there's just this calm when you become sober about, I can accept this different view. It's easier for me than when I'm high because it narrows my mind. I become more like tunnel vision on stupid things. It's like I said last time that when I smoke spiritually, I feel like it slams the door shut on me. And so there are things when you're using drugs, your growth is stunted, and it's specifically emotionally. And when I say emotionally, I'm also talking about one's own maturity. Your ability to recognize things as an adult is hindered by juvenile indulging behavior. And I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself. I still want to do it. I still want to drink. But I have seen the negative for myself, how lowly I got in my mood, being angry all the time, miserable. Am I getting through to you? Am I making sense to anybody? Because I think all this it's meaningful to me. And once again, I have managed to fill up 23 and a half minutes, and it's like, when I start out, I'm like, how the heck am I going to fill this up? But I do, and I want you to know that I really do care about people, and I'm just trying to impart a perspective, okay? I've been scratching my head thinking I might create another freemium about how to quit marijuana, even though I'm not going to sell it on Amazon. I'm just going to give it away for free and try and build a community that way. I'm also going to give it away for free because if I put it up for sale on Amazon, I know a bunch of haters are going to be like, oh my God, marijuana is not addictive. People don't have problems on marijuana. If they have problems, it's what's wrong with them. It's not what's wrong with marijuana. And I'm not saying also that there is not merit to marijuana in certain ways, especially medically, or especially when it comes to enjoying oneself. Some people can enjoy it and wait months and months and months before touching it again, or years, and it's just not a problem because they don't have that addictive personality. And I do. So I'm speaking to people, trying to reach people who are like me, who identify with what I'm saying. I'm looking for lifers, people, you're me, I'm you. We're just naturally the same people. That term lifer coming from Shalene Johnson, okay? Especially trying to help you through finding empowering ways to give up that addiction and lead a life that still feels good, emotionally meaningful, empowering, accomplishing things, feeling motivated day to day, and all that jazz. Oh, my friends. Oh, my friends. It's come to that time again when I must cut this off. I'm Paul from FitSpaz, and this is FitSpaz Recovery. If you want to check out more and learn more about me, you can always go to my website, FitSpaz.com. If you want to send me feedback, send it to paul@fitspaz.com. How convenient, how lovely. Subscribe to the podcast in iTunes. Subscribe to my YouTube page. And you're like, how do I get to all that stuff? You can always find the links to that social media on FitSpaz.com. So that's all I have to say to you guys today. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to talk to you later. I'm going to come at you more with more fitness junk, more of these steps with my own unique spin on them. And we will talk to you soon. Everybody have a nice day, and I will talk to you later.